Talk about the compartmentalization of Western or United States society. We do it with our relationships. We call each other names. Oh, I'm a fagula. Oh, you sure? We want everything black and white. Oh, we'll send out a black and white right away. You gotta wait anyway. What if fagulas were integrated into society? They wouldn't stand out so much, right? And we wouldn't make so much trouble to be a non-fagula, so that we could call him a fagula. Fagula is Yiddish for gay, okay? I'm just using this as an example, just one example. It goes way beyond this. If you want to know, hint, hint, it's about incest, okay? So I'm getting to that. But when we make hard and fast demarcations, then we can make judgments and exclusions, or, oh, you're included, or you're not included. What about integration? Whatever happened? We bus kids from one end of town to the other so that they can be integrated in our public school system. Whatever happened to integration? But when it comes to relationships, if we stop making those, if we stop assessing the situation based on an intention to create distance, between people as an excuse to judge them. So again, it goes back to judge not lest you be judged and found wanting. It does go back to that. You know, I put all my attention, because I know I'm prone to this. Hey, I'm Mr. First one in line to be guilty of judging others. So what do? I stay in my room, I become a hermit, and I judge my experience, not other people. I don't watch TV because I don't want to judge them. I'll watch a movie on occasion. Pop a movie into the player. But I don't want to, because TV is geared to judge people. You know it is. And a lot of so-called internet news is geared towards judging others. And I don't even have to judge myself. I mean, I'm going to end up doing it without encouragement. But what I should encourage is judging my experience, and that's what I do, in order to fine-tune it, to reduce the margin of error, as Charlie would say. Charlie Lutz. But that's the error of experience. It has nothing to do with me. I'll experience my experience, and I'll gain more pleasure and less pain from it by reducing the margin of error, but that doesn't mean I'm judging myself necessarily. I'm judging my experience and how I conduct my affairs that generates that experience. So if I want to call it scientific research, well, okay. I don't have to, though. See, that's where I'm going with this, is that it does matter where we put our attention. But the consequence is that we end up not playing a role. And of course, a role is all about a 9-to-5 job. And so we treat our relationships as if it's a 9-to-5 job. Yet nobody gets paid for being a housewife. Nobody pays income tax on being a housewife. Maybe you take a deduction for having a housewife, but nobody gets paid for it. I don't pay taxes, so I don't know if you can take a deduction for being a housewife or not. Being a fagula in today's society is nothing by comparison to the fact that we want to put all our attention on, oh, I'm not so sure if I want to trust that fagula, if I want to integrate that fagula into society. It's because nobody wants to think about incest, which is a little closer to home, you know? How many gays are there in this room? Please raise your hand. First of all, they may not want to raise their hand. Second of all, even if they were in a room filled with gays, or if they thought they were, so that they would be more prone to raise their hand, that's nothing by comparison to how many families, see, the potential for incest is much greater. You're not going to have a family among fagulas unless they adopt, right? But with non-phagalus, you're going to get a family automatically, unless, they're not into creating families and they'd rather just have a career or just a relationship between the two of them, or both, as the case may be. So incest is potentially a greater field, very fertile field by comparison to phagalism. So we're worrying about trivia. I don't know if I want a phagala in my neighborhood. Oh, really? We're worrying about trivia. Oh my God, this is unbelievable. And then we make a big media event on TV and the movies. Oh, there was a phagala in the movie. That character played that phagala. Really? Phagala. Oh, really? You sure? I can't help this. This topic is so unnerving to me because of what we don't cover. Not merely that we don't cover the topic of incest, but because, or in this case, in the case of this video, how we go to so much trouble to avoid it. Let's talk about phagalas. I don't want to talk about incest. Let's talk about phagalas. Oh. I'm choking over this. Oh my God, this is unbelievable. You think there's a strong intention among people to prevent among, non-police, just people. Oh, let's be phagalas instead. Oh, it's so much better. Really? Who says? See, the problem with incest is if it ever were allowed, you couldn't identify it, could you? How are you going to identify it? A phagala, oh, they have a certain walk, but how do you, if you had a movie topic, okay, and you wanted to depict incest, oh, do they walk a certain way? Do they talk a certain way? Do they cross their legs a certain way? Do they look at you a certain way? I mean, this is worse than the emperor with no clothes trying to make a nudist look like they're aliens because they act like they're an emperor with no clothes. They act like they are shameless. Oh my God. Is that possible? That's not right. That's not moral. They're supposed to have shame. Oh, really? Who says? Oh, we are so forgetful of the 70s. We have forgotten like it was a bloop, and it was gone like phew, and phew, really fast, like that streaker across the stage behind David Niven when he was officiating the Oscars one year. That fast, a streaker, just streaked right past our awareness. That's the problem with incest. You won't be able to identify it. You can't judge it on the basis of some criteria of behavior that indicates. It's kind of like penis size, Oh, it must be the size of his nose. We'll give away how big his penis is. Well, we know that's not true. Oh, it's the size of his hands. Well, we know that's not true. How about just check the penis, Oh, ow! I don't know if I want to go there. Well, it's no wonder you don't want to talk about incest. Not that they're related, but they're parallel. They're very similar. What do you think? Don't you think so? Instead of just talking about penises and making jokes about penises, if we actually confronted penises, then we would be confronting incest. It kind of goes without saying, but we should say it because nobody makes the association. They're just afraid of it. So we don't want to think about it. Don't want to mention it. It's there, though. It's there hidden in plain sight. Nudity is not illegal. I've already gone through that. I've experienced it firsthand. It's not illegal. It's indecency which is illegal. But nudity is not. Yet we hold nudity to be illegal because we can't deal with incest. Because we won't be able to identify it if and when it should happen. We won't be able to. somebody would have to go to the trouble of self-confessing, okay, or be forced to self-confess, whether or not it's actually true. Hey, if somebody forces you, then you have to wonder if it's true. If it's under duress. Well, you signed, it makes it legal. Yeah, but if it was under duress, does it make it legal? Really? Come on now. That's debatable. You can't make any money off of incest because it's all in the family. You have to outsource it. You have to put it out. You have to give it up. And that's what drives society. Not that we make all our money off of pornography and whatnot. Obviously we don't. But we use it for other things, to drive society in general. It's just, I'm painting with a broad brush here without going into details. We drive society with it. But we can't drive society with it if we allow it to stay in the home. And that's why Russia's poor, because they don't drive it out of the family and into the marketplace. So we drive it out by putting a moral judgment on it. In other words, a price on it. So if you do it without a license, you pay a penalty cost. Because we've commercialized it. We've put it out of the family so that we can use it to drive society. It's not just to make money off of it. I just don't want to go into the details. What parallels it, though, if you want an example, is the lady in the bikini standing next to the Jaguar, to sell the Jaguar. Are we selling the Jaguar or the lady, or the idea of the lady in the bikini? That parallels what I'm trying to get at, that we use our sexuality to drive society, but we have to drive our sexuality out of the home in order to do that. Otherwise, society won't be driven by our sexuality. The home will, though, and when you drive society, you do more than make money. It's a question of power. I didn't want to cover it, but I guess I have to. It's a question of power. And when you want more power, you take it away from the family. This is why the ancient Greeks and other cultures believed in pedophilia, namely in the Greek culture, the ancient Greek, they would take young boys and apprentice them to old guys. This is why they believed that practice would prevent tyranny. Because they were already taking sexuality out of the home, that's true. But they were merely replacing their fathers, so it wasn't much of a stretch. The child could still identify with the older man. Oh, he's old, just like my father, So in a sense, they were not taking it out of the home. But they were. And they were using it to drive society. But they were more honest about it. We're not honest. Far from it. We've done such a highly efficient job of hiding the fact that we've taken it out of the family. So that's the difference. In a simple life, back then, communication wasn't the greatest. So images, the conveyance of images, was not as pronounced as it is for us, which helps to communicate when you convey an image, when you spread an image around. Brand loyalty, it's like, come on. They didn't deal with that. They did with nation-states, city-states. They dealt with city-states, everything on a small scale. And if you were wealthy, you were considered a king, like Melchizedek. He was considered a king simply because he was wealthy, because who else is wealthy? Only kings are wealthy. Nobody else is entitled to wealth or has the license to become wealthy except kings and queens, royalty. So we're trying to, I'm not going to repeat myself on that.